All right, are you excited or what?
I'm pretty excited.
All right, this is a big deal for you. This is a big break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Nashville comedian here today in Driving with Dave. It's Taylor Williams. How are you?
I'm so happy.
Cheers. Cheers to your happiness. What a powerful name Taylor Williams is.
Taylor's a big name.
Taylor's
right
a nice,
now.
I was thinking about it. It's a nice gender neutral name.
I know. I've always enjoyed that.
It's a I mean, because Williams is like Dave's a common first name, and Neal is. I mean, my whole name's common, but Taylor made the golf clubs. That's really all I know. That's a Taylor. Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. We were just talking about her before the cameras came on.
So you've got big shoes to fill in the Taylor world.
Taylor Tomlinson.
Jonathan Taylor you might be too young.
I'm not.
You're not too young for JTT?
Oh, no. I came alive when I saw him on the screen for the first time.
I was thinking of him last night because we were playing Lion King, and I was like, I was playing any music to get my kid to stop crying. He's 7 weeks old, and I'm just like, he doesn't know what Lion King is. I'm just singing Hakuna Matata to him, and then there's the other one, I Can't Wait. I just can't wait
to be king.
And I don't think that's sung by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but he played the role in Lion King.
He played the heck out of it.
And then you know what he did? He said, I don't want to do this anymore, and he just went to school. Isn't that good?
What a nerd.
He said, gosh. You know what? I think a lot of people feel that way when they sort of reach the pinnacle of their dreams. They go, this wasn't really it.
I should seek knowledge.
Yeah. What are you dreaming for? Let's break right into it. What's your big goal?
Wowie.
Before the coffee kicks in, I want to know.
I think I have a problem of I just want to be just having a good time. I'm not a good goal setter, I would say. I think that I want to always have a tripod of things that I'm stoked about.
A multi-tool. You're a multi-tool.
Yeah. I want to be able to do comedy and go on the road, and my partner is an entertainment guy, and so we're going to be able to do trips where we're both doing shows off and on.
Is a stand-up?
He's not a stand-up. He's
I love it when you can't define what someone is.
It is.
Hold on, he's got a banjo. It's a thing.
It's so many elements.
There's some magic happening. There's a little card tricks.
There are elements that sound terrible, but they come together
Give me the
beautifully.
Worst.
Okay, so he's in a band called Ruchi Tucci and the Ragtime Shepherd Kings, and it's Tin Pan Alley songs. There's a lot of puppetry involved.
Oh, so I wasn't wrong. There's some props.
Off.
I love puppetry.
Yeah, it's
But by the
really
way,
awesome.
That will be the first thing I try to do with my baby is I want to buy one. I want to make one of those puppet little theaters,
Oh, yeah.
And then we can design our own puppets. Each character gets a puppet, and each member of the household. That's gonna be how we learn birds and the bees.
Yeah. Oh wait, so this is going into young.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep it till they're in their financial wealth.
You never have a real conversation unless it's through a sock.
Does August want the Wi-Fi password? No. So your partner's got his hand on the old the puppet world.
Yeah. He's got it in it. He has a what's it called? Kind of a pop country alter ego named Rance Chase.
Chase is my sister's name.
What?
Chase is my sister's name.
Oh, I thought Rance Chase. I was she's going to have to change that.
No, not the full name, no.
Yeah.
My sister has the copyright, so I'm going to sue you for all of your puppets. Every single one of them. So he must have boxes. I love prop comedians. They always have boxes. They need things.
Oh, yeah.
So if he has a show somewhere, he's got he's got the equipment and music and amps and felt.
It's really a taxing tour.
That's exciting though.
Yeah.
And did you meet through arts?
No, I met him on New Year's Eve one night many years ago. He came up to a group of my friends that he didn't know, and he was like, "Hi, my name's Timmy. I like toys." Or he said, "My name is Timmy. I make toys and I like to rap." And then he started rapping at us, and my friends were like, "This man is unwell." And I was like, I will make him well.
To dig himself out of that hole is...
I thought he was on the top of the...
That's like when you
mountain.
go into a stand-up show and your first bit is like deep, aggressive stuff. And like, I need to work out of this one.
I like when someone... I've seen like a really young comedian come up on stage and immediately just start ripping into people for not paying attention. It's like, have you done anything to be worthy of attention yet?
Yeah, it's like, well, that's the privilege of starting stand-up, is thinking you're owed stage time.
Oh, yeah.
And what you learn is you're not, and you're not owed anyone's attention. That's what I actually, the one perk for me starting in New York and LA is trying to get people's attention on stage and knowing, all right, this is the show where I got to open up with that joke where I just start yelling random shit just to get people's literal chairs turned around. It's like, God, it's like hard enough to get people's attention. And then the shows where the chairs aren't even facing in the direction of the stage. It's like, what is this? The Voice? I've got to like get you to swivel around. At like a gang bar where I did this one show in the Valley in Los Angeles. It was a gang bar, and I noticed before my set that my car, I got there early. My car was parked in, and then it was parked 5 cars deep with those cars that are on the hydraulics. You know, those like Sunday special cars that they drive around. And I was like, I can't not have a good set because I'm gonna have to ask them all to let me out afterwards. So yeah, it can be a negotiation for sure.
Yeah.
I listened to some of your comedy. And you have a bit about why you should judge a book by its cover. I won't ask you to do it. It's such a funny premise, but we all get judged by our cover.
Yeah, we all like decorate ourselves in a way to send out a signal to be like, this is basically what I'm into if you want to hang out.
How would you like to be judged by your cover? As far as what are you presenting that you want to be absorbed?
Oh boy. In my mind, I'm like a tough little boy. And that's
like a tomboy.
Like a tomboy, but that's.
So you don't want to be like princess presenting.
I'm not princess presenting. I don't feel like I am. I have. I guess. Well, like I want to. I guess I want to. What am I like?
Well, you mentioned being a feminist, and
yeah.
I think I am, but I think we could kind of talk about the terminology of that, because I think the whole world's upside down right now with like that means something to someone else, whatever, and it's such a simple. It shouldn't be misconstrued, but then there is a feminist hairstyle. And does that style come because people want to present that this is who they are, much like a gay man might wear 2 earrings to say, hey, I'm not, not that a straight guy can't, but you know what I mean? Like there are indicators that go into saying, I don't want you to ask me a bunch of questions. This is who I am. Yeah. Does that come into play?
Yeah, don't get to know me. I think, yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, this is too much hair. But this...
I disagree. I think you're just entering enough hair.
I know. A lot of my friends are like, just like the more it goes nuts, they're just like, keep it going.
And that's what comedy is about, exaggeration.
Yeah.
So you'll see that with a lot of comedians. They'll just exaggerate whatever feature they have. And if you got nice curly hair, let it go.
Yeah. Well, it's not entertaining to like just present a really balanced.
Yeah.
Let's weigh. But also, I think some really great comedians do that by going really hard after both sides of an argument.
Yeah, you'll have there's a comedian in New York who would dress up in a suit, which I don't like props, but it's like if you came from the business world, fine. But he would dress up in a suit and then do the dirtiest material about drugs. And it was his like way of like, that was his punchline to go, it was a misdirect, Which I'm like, okay, that's a little too much. Like, be who you are.
Yeah.
Like I would like to always be available to do a set, not have to be like, I used to have a bit about my hat, and I'd be like, I don't want to have to wear my hat to do the bit. Like, let's figure out a way to do this where my hat's not the prop,
Yeah, I know, because what if the wind takes your prop away?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I got the answer to what you feel like you're presenting. You said tomboy, but...
Yeah. I guess I still don't know who I am or what I'm trying to present, but I guess like I don't know, just like someone who is
What's your greatest skill?
My greatest skill is that I know how weak I am.
I'm looking for the bold thing, the bold area of expertise. And I don't blame you. I couldn't answer that question. I'd be like, I don't know. Trying not to offend anybody.
Yeah, totally. I think, well, it's so funny because I do think self-awareness is like the number one skill to being good at comedy. And yet you're like, what are you trying to present? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're really self-aware with your jokes. The ones I've seen, they're funny. Mm-hmm. You know, you had a bit about like what you look. We all have bits about what we look like.
Yeah.
But like I'm a very, you know, like most comedians, if you had to like boil them down, look like me. As far as like, there's so many white male comedians. Mm-hmm. But I have to try to stay true to who I am because. Yeah. What good is it for me to play into the stereotype that, oh, just another white male? It's like, yeah, no, but this one has the electric bills to pay. So like I have to, so and that's kind of what there is a little bit of a struggle for me. Not, I wouldn't say struggle, but like the idea that like I understand a lot of systemic issues come from the power structure that exists in all of this. But at the same time, like I said, I got to take care of my wife. I got to pay my bills. Mm-hmm. So I am an ally, but I have a unique position, almost like a gay man who presents very straight, like Tim Dillon. I get involved in conversations with different types of people across all political spectrum, mm-hmm. and they might not know my stance, which is, and I'm proud to say it, a wildly progressive stance. Yeah. But I come from a family that's, you know, everything from a Trump supporter to Bernie to, you know, everything under the sun. And we are in a place where folks have a hard time discussing these things. So, like, where do you come from? And is your family all of the same ilk, or?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. So...
Yeah, we'll start by talking shit about your family.
My family is incredible. They're so sweet and wonderful. They are very much conservative, but they are so curious about people. They're like very warm. They're interested in people. They're, you know, they obviously, like, they've come around on me living with my partner. You mean out of wedlock? Out of wedlock, living in sin.
And you haven't burned up yet in flames?
Not yet. That comes later. But
get those puppets in like one of those like safes where the fire doesn't get to them.
I had to explain with the puppets to them, like, we're moving in.
Because parents, regardless of political ideology, are conservative in the stance that they want what's best for you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, when they want what's best, they want what's the safest, which might be like to be a librarian or whatever the safe thing is where you come from. Go to school, go in the army, go wherever. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, how do they factor into your creative world, and how do they been kind of an inspiration for you as conservatives?
Well, they've always been really supportive of anything I've ever wanted to do, and they don't follow me on social media, which is helpful because one time I was on a show that the proceeds went to fund like Planned Parenthood, and my mom was like, nothing has ever devastated me more. Yeah. And she's like, I gotta go. I was like, okay, I'm gonna miss you saying I don't get it on my posts. But
and then some stranger comments and you go, no, you're not. I wish there was a button that would allow your parents to comment, but no one sees it. Yeah. It's just so like they can say their thing and then no one else sees it. Yeah. Like the way the world worked before. Yeah. Your mom said it in her kitchen. That was it.
But they're a lot of my comedy, and I try to be careful about it because there are so many feelings, and I feel like when you're too hot on a topic, then it can come across that you're like really emotional or really upset, and that never is funny.
Or unwilling to accept someone, you know, sometimes people feel rejected. Yeah. Oh, you're pro this, you must be anti that.
Yeah, and
I'm anti your opinion.
Yeah, but I just said that so many times, but yeah, I'm really, and they've taught me to be this way, to hear people out and hear different perspectives. And I do, you know, there's so many things on all sides of life that are hypocritical and you know, obnoxious. Like, I'm very liberal, but but liberals are like always eating each other alive and like competing to be the
liberal Olympics.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's why when things can't get done, it's like conservatives have had the same gameplay
simple
for the whole time.
Simple unification over very broad topics.
Yeah.
And some topics that plenty of liberal people agree with, but they don't know that, as far as how far into gun safety do you want to go, as far as how, like, most people that I talk to, when you get to the definition of it, are pro-choice. Most pro-life people I talk to, well, I just wouldn't do that. You do what you want. That means you're pro-choice. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many emotional inconsistencies with how we think about the things we think about. And I agree with you that the left eats itself alive. I'm currently being eaten alive for my defense of a victim who happens to not be a female. And it doesn't make me a men's rights person, trust me, but I'm being labeled as that. Even though, so my YouTube channel has covered mainly advocacy for female victims because it's in a genre where men are douchebags and F-boys and the women get scorned because they're, it's all the reality dating shows. So there's a lot of F-boy happening things. But in this one specific case, there's a guy who has been taken advantage of, and he was the third male victim that this woman took advantage of him. And it's actually being referred to the prosecutor of the county, and she might get jail time over it. And for some crazy reason, an audience that I think is ultra liberal sees me as a villain in this whole story.
Oh man. But
out of 10,000 or so loyal people covering it, 99% of them plus are women. So it's a very interesting sort of pickle that I'm in, trying to dissect how we can all get on a page of simple agreeances so that we don't eat ourselves alive.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, without knowing any more of the information, that I think you're a monster. And you're wrong. So.
Oh, I can't read threads. There are threads, and it's, every day and this is why, not to make this about me, but this is why, every day I get letters from people, mainly
handwritten letters.
I get lots of emails and tons of gifts. It's insane how many people know my address. I'm not kidding. They have supported my wife and I to this crazy extent. Whenever we go to shows, handmade gifts. We have so many quilts, and I'm talking about quilts that take 50 plus hours. You know what I mean? You see a quilt and you're like, this is all original stitching, that type of thing. So I say all that.
They're all from that guy.
No, they're all from the fan base, the audience that supports the truth and the exploitation, because the women this one specific woman who's got a big, mental health issue that has victimized these men, called CPS on them. She has restraining orders on all of them. She's made their life a living hell, and it has hurt other women. But anyhow, so I see the very simple instance where I look like a bad guy to a certain group of people, and what I see it as, and has been explained to me best, is the horseshoe model, where you've got the far left on the one side of the horseshoe and the far right on the other, and they're actually like very similar in ideology as far as their willingness to either astroturf or campaign to cancel people. And then I think most people exist in this like place where we want healthy discussion, and as a progressive, I want to be able to enact laws that tax the ultra wealthy and do simple things that provide a windfall for normal people. And it seems like we're lost on these topics because of simpler and more barbaric arguments over maybe ideological differences that we're not quite ready to face because there's so many bigger issues. Did I just bite off more than I could chew there? Or do we agree on that, or am I just rambling?
Yeah.
It might be the coffee.
No. I do feel like we see so much of the extreme because that's what gets the most attention. But yeah, I think for the most part, a lot of people are very thoughtful and rational.
Isn't that wild? Like, we get boosted up the corners of the horseshoe, the extreme. But you're right. And there is I don't know what state, but there's some Congress that are trying to enact laws that get rid of that sort of upvote, like extremist viewpoint in social media, to say, look, not in our state. If we can't change this federally, and if we can't change like the apps in general, not in our state. And actually, I think it's a Republican congressman who's trying to push for this, which is ironic because Republicans want smaller, government interference.
Right.
But what we see with capitalism is like these slot machines we can't control that are bringing out the worst version of ourselves, it seems.
But I bet that could also be seen as, I bet there's a lot of pushback that people are like, they're silent, that they want to silence like the truth.
That's an issue, right?
Seen as that way.
Yeah, and I think, because we remember, we're about of the same.
2 baby deer over there.
Oh my gosh, 2 deer hanging out. I came into this neighborhood because my car seat was rattling, and I was like, I don't want bad audio. These are the things I think about. I've never done an interview with that car seat in the back there, just like that bass. Hold on, let me see if I can lock it. There we go. Nice.
There you go.
I'm in dad mode. I'm finally in dad mode. I know. When I met you, I was like, I came off way too hot. I was like, I'm a dad, I'm better. But I was kidding, but then afterwards I was doing that self-doubt thing where I was like, I can't come in this hot with people that don't know me. I'm new to this town. There's going to be rumors.
I know. Yeah, I've been spreading a lot of stuff online, but they're trying to keep it silent.
There's going to be a puppet show about me.
Yeah.
That douchebag puppet looks oddly like me. So
this guy's proud to be a dad. Ugh.
Are you from Tennessee?
No, I'm from North Carolina.
Okay.
Carolina.
Okay, and so how do your political views factor into, like you mentioned you don't want to be hated for if you have a political sort of leaning bit. So how do you like juggle that? Because like I came from the coast where it's a little bit more like liberal leaning versus like trying to work something out where the views might not all be the same.
Yeah, well, I think I like, I feel like, okay, here's back to how you come across. Like, I want to come across the stage as if I'm a little worm that you could crush with your foot and destroy. I want, like, if I'm so unassuming, I want to be like unassuming, like I'm often wrong. I question a lot of things. I just want you to like me, but I also do feel strongly about a lot of things. And
Bill Burr does that in a more angry way, where he'll make some crazy statement and he'll go, "What do I know? I'm just a dumb comedian." And he's like, that was actually a brilliant thought that you just had. So yeah, that is a good place, especially. And I wonder if that's because so many people with big thoughts say them so confidently that you're not leaving room for someone else to reach that opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's with an audience, it's almost the same thing with someone who might be of a different political ideology, where your goal with an audience is to relate, be funny, but in the way to do that, you have to kind of figure out the unique lock that you have to pick for every single crowd.
Yeah.
Which the more you do stand up, the more you realize, all right, this crowd, I need to do this, or this crowd, I need to shit on myself, or this crowd's hot, we can go right into it.
Yeah.
You just like learn what that is over time, but there is like a security into wanting to come off, I don't want to say neutral, but you used, I think, a smushed worm reference. But yeah, there's this thought of like, I don't want to wear a tight fitting shirt on stage and look like somebody's douchebag boy. You know what I mean? Like as a guy, I think of all of those things of like, I don't want to come off, and here I am with like a backwards hat and a stupid linen shirt. Like, I don't want to come off like I'm in Margaritaville. But yeah, you have these thoughts that I think, when you go to a job interview in a normal job, you dress to impress, you dress for what you think they want. And we're dressing to sell an idea. Sometimes it's a goofy one, and sometimes it's like, you had a bit about being a feminist, but it sucks because Gen Z doesn't believe in gender, which obviously is like, that's hilarious, and also like a generalization because it's complicated. I'm sure you. But it's so funny to be like, are we going to be the boomers of the 2040s? You know what I mean? No offense, boomers. We got you. We love you. Don't give me a 1-star review. A lot of boomer rage out there. But yeah, are we going to be that, or like, are we going to try to be the cool kids who learn all the new music? Oh,
I know. And that joke, like, I stopped doing it for a while because I was scared it made me sound like a turf or something. But I was
funny.
Like,
another term I don't know much about other than, but that's more of the infighting.
I know. But I checked with, some of my good friends, and the thing, it's just a joke about like trying to be, trying to stay on the on the good side of things, and then like being being outgrown and being like, oh no, I'm still goofing up.
But you know what I think it
and
comes
I think
down
that's
to?
Relatable.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But the internet almost characterizes everything. So the internet's binary. It's all a bunch of ones and zeros, right? Mm-hmm. And everything gets labeled in the internet as like very specific things. So in normal like life, if you're doing data research, you have qualitative and quantitative. Mm-hmm. The internet makes everything quantitative. And by that I mean you're either pro this, anti that. Like it just categorizes everything. Mm-hmm. So it does make it more complicated to be like, no, we must have this many genders. Where everything's on a spectrum, everything should be whatever it is. But now you're either for me or against me. And it's like I see the world as more like a 32-sided dice versus a 2-sided political coin flip.
Well, yeah, it's so ding-dongy to have just like two. You can so easily like put people against each other if you just have two options, and then you put like these huge like trump cards on both ends, where like both have, there's like pro-life like you were talking about, and then there's like on the other side maybe the lives of immigrants or like whatever. It's like both.
So what you're saying is like, a pro-life person, do they value the lives that are past born,
already going,
healthcare,
that have already, they have sin inside of them.
Yeah.
They have, yeah.
But when you do look at things, because, and I like to have these topics, these conversations, because my audience is across the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm liberal, I get a lot of conservatives that say, I don't agree with your opinions, but I like hearing them. And like, I want more of that. Yeah. Some of my favorite channels I listen to go hard in the paint, and I'm like, there's no conservative person listening to this because it's like way crazy. Yeah. And I've had to, because of this case that I've been a part of, I've been threatened with like massive lawsuits. Wow. Even though I'm everything's been proven true, so I'm like safe now. Yeah. But this lady still likes to drain people in lawsuits, which is fine. She sued me, she lost, she pulled out, and then they threatened me with a $140 million lawsuit, just to show you how like crazy they are. Yeah. And her lawyer is actually someone who has won big like national cases, so I don't take their threats lightly. But what it has shown me is, like, for me personally, I've had to go anywhere I can to get publicity with this case. Mm-hmm. And the only people that have covered it have been conservative media. And that doesn't change my political identity and who I am, but it gives me less faith in what funds like corporate media and what stories they don't want told. Mm-hmm. And I've had to realize that there is a greater conversation to be had, because everyone's leaving corporate media because they are bought and sold regardless of political. They don't care, the people at top. Like, you see Tucker Carlson get fired, and then Cuomo get fired, and then they're on each other's podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care about anybody. They just played to whatever boss was paying their bills. Yeah. And that's, I wanted to say it was fine, but it's like, it's spineless, but like, it just goes to show everyone's out for themselves. Yeah. So when are you running for president? That's what I wanted to get to. Gosh, my rants, I get lost both metaphorically and physically.
Oh, I love it.
So where do you see yourself with a conservative family? Do you get feelings, do you have any feelings of bitterness that they might not appreciate you, even if they accept you? Almost like a gay guy whose dad goes, hate the sin or not the sin. It's like, that's the most horrible thing to ever tell somebody. That's not acceptance at all. Do you feel accepted by them?
I do. I had a visit with them recently that was like, I could weep over the fact that I will admit I was a nightmare. Like, they were just
How so?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I just recently got let go from my job.
Congratulations.
I know.
On new opportunities, but sorry about that.
Nobody wants to work. And so they were like, come home, let's just like take you into our arms and like, spoil you. And they did. And they were so sweet and just like, very loving. And it was my dad's birthday, and they brought up this one friend of theirs who I got in a stupid argument with online, but they were just like putting forth these like very, very hateful things that were making me so upset.
And you couldn't help but just,
and they were just like,
misinformation.
She's visiting soon. And I was like, well, she's literally the devil. So I hope you have fun with Satan. And it was like my dad's birthday. It's just like the worst time to, and there was no reason to bring it up. There was no like, what do you think about this person? And they are so gracious with me. Despite how differently we think about things, because I immediately apologize when I'm in the wrong, but and then in front of their friends later, like some political things came up, and I thought that I was being really diplomatic and being like, well, nobody really likes Biden. Like, nobody likes Biden, and Obama did a bunch of messed up stuff.
Yeah, you gave him some chum.
Yeah, I was like, can we all agree that anyone who ends up being president is probably kind of a bad guy? And they were like, no.
You're like, I came to the bargaining room, and they're like,
I gave you some of my, well, you know, nobody's ever liked Biden, but
I think the difference is people don't show up to Biden rallies because anyone voting for Democratic policies doesn't see their leader as a god.
Yeah.
They understand that, boy, we got to get things passed through the House and funding this. You know, it's like such a complicated issue. It's not like, all hail this guy, we want him forever. But
yeah, he's part of the prophecy. He's part of, you know.
the tan prophecy.
Yeah.
But I understand, I have so much empathy for, and I do blame it all on lead poisoning, to be quite honest. I always joke around about it, but I'm like, I think there's a lot of neurological issues out there. No, but there are different personality types that tend for people to be, like my dad's a small business owner, and he's very charitable within the church and this and that, but he's probably kind of sipping the MAGA Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. So this idea that if you vote this way, you must be X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I think that really doesn't go into the heart of a lot of issues, which is people dealing with fear and how we're manipulated by fear.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if you've ever had someone show up to your house trying to sell you something, they are going to lead with fear. I had a guy, he introduced himself as a former Army sniper, which, you know, when you're doing door-to-door sales, maybe don't let the consumer know you can kill me from far away if I say no. And he meant well. He wanted me to say thank you for your service and all that, which is great. But I had to put up a no soliciting sign, even though our neighborhood already had one, because I don't do good with like telling people no. But at the same time, he was trying to sell me on all the ways my neighborhood is going up in crime. And I was like, homeboy, I just moved from East LA, where you see people in gangs running around with guns. And my neighbors all have ring cam footage of gunfire being thrown their way. This ain't it. I don't care if I shouldn't say my neighborhood. I don't care if Nashville crime went up 8%. That means nothing to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be sold on fear. In fact, I'm going to run in the other direction. Now, I know plenty of people that go, load me up with the ring cams. I don't want it, you know, I need a fortress around me. I need that wall, metaphorically, that build your own wall. The wall was that idea of protecting yourselves from fear. So these aren't bad people. I think they are just receptive more to a fear mindset, even though our country and the earth is the safest it's ever been. Doesn't mean it can't get safer. But historically speaking, we have all of the bad news jammed down our throat, and we're driving a car that's the safest that's ever been. Everything is the safest it's ever been, and we're still living in fear.
Well, we also are at the, you know, this is no, like, kind of blow anyone's mind, but, you know, our generation is aware of every horrible thing happening across the entire world at the same time. And so it does just feel like it's crushing in constantly.
And how do you deal with it, and what side do you take? And I don't have all the answers, but I do know at least we shouldn't be manipulated. So if you do feel a certain way, just don't be manipulated to feel that way based on, you know, the most, you know, reptilian forces ever, which is fear. Protect my people. And, you know, it's like I hear this all the time from my parents. They live, first of all, I shouldn't say this. They don't even have locks on their doors. They don't have any fears in the world.
They got any good stuff in the house?
No. There's nothing but junk and that, like, God bless them, but, like, I love them to death, but I've had, you know, instances where, and again, it's not always a generational thing. So my stepdad's best friend my stepdad kind of like jumped on me on some like political talk when we were visiting, and my wife and I both just like did this like, oh, all right, like just like I was like, I have the ability to like, really just everything's going well, and I'll be like, hey, how about that? And he snapped because like I think the defense of your political ideology sometimes is more important than family. In the sense that whatever it triggers on the inside, people are losing family over this, which is heartbreaking. Yeah. I'm not willing to take that bait, but I think if I did, my stepdad and I wouldn't talk. Yeah. So I'm just like you, hey, Biden sucks, right? I'm willing to take that debate. Yeah. Or not take that bait, I should say. But then his buddy, who's this like grizzly older guy, you know, obviously like their boomer generation, he doesn't say a word, and he's military. Former military, and I go outside to finish cooking the steaks, and he comes out next to me and he goes, dude, I agree with everything you said in there. I can't talk to him about this. Like, so it's not like everyone's on the same page. So whenever I say boomers, I know they get upset, but I'm just that to me that means like people that aren't willing to have open and honest conversations and be real with each other about the struggles that exist.
I feel like you just, as a way of self-preservation in life, it's kind of like mentally exhausting to be like pulled, and I think it's just a natural, it's really hard to stay elastic about, you know, and well, I don't want to say humble, I guess, or whatever, but just it's like it's exhausting to not have just like this is what I believe and be able to like rest in that.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do think we've gone past I think the pandemic was or led into the wildest, and I do think people are getting exhausted and worn down by it all. I don't know if we see that within the media, but I do feel like I was saying before, this sort of coalition that's been supporting me in this fight we've had with the courts. My partner, the reporter that I've met, is conservative. I don't know all of her political ideology, but we are not on the same wavelength. Like, she doesn't agree with Planned Parenthood because of I don't even know whatever issue she has. Like, we have different agreements on everything. Yeah. But we agree on justice, and we agree on, I actually think she agrees with me on like mental health issues and funding. I just think more people actually agree with, I use Bernie Sanders as an example. I think more conservatives and liberal people agree with what he has to say, which I believe to be I think there's more progressives in the conservative party than they understand. And I met some lady in Arizona a few weeks ago. She was an audience member of mine, and she actually donated a lot of her time to the court that we were at. She catered it and brought all these things. She was really nice. And she goes, I don't agree with you politically, but I think you're a great guy and blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, but I just found out I have to get some surgery done from healthcare. And boy, do I wish I had, government healthcare right now, because it's going to drain my bank account. And I go, dang it. Why do we have to wait till someone's got a lump on their neck to agree that we're all getting robbed? And then you get these like, you get these people that are like, I like my company healthcare. And it's like, who are you fooling? That's like someone being like chained into someone's basement. It's actually kind of air conditioned down here. It's like, who are we fooling?
Yeah, it's nice to have a spot,
Yeah. Sure, I don't get a pay raise, but they give me partial insurance. Like, what are we doing?
Health insurance is it just always feels so wackadoodle to me, because you're just like, you're gambling on, I bet that something horrible is going to happen to me this year, so I'm going to go ahead and get the premium. Yeah. Yeah, and then you always, I mean, tale as old as time. You're just like, you have insurance, you pay it every month, it's way more than you can afford, and then you cover everything.
Oh yeah, we're at like $1,400 a month or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and honestly, we haven't gotten the birth bill yet, but like some things, get charged to the baby, and some things get charged to my wife. And I'm like, can't this all be lumped in so we can hit our deductible?
Yeah.
But that's us playing the game we have to play. And I think I mourn for the people that hate their job but stick with it because it keeps them, with a human right, which is healthcare.
Yeah. What did you do before this?
I have been acting with side jobs. Stand-up's been 10 years. This is like the side gig. This is a podcast, but it's part of my other podcast, which has been my career for 3 years, maybe 4 years. So that's opened the doors, bought us a home, and amazing. Before that, minimum wage side gigs, background work in movies. You know, just whatever I could do that wasn't going to behold me to a job that took away the chance to have flexible schedule for all of that. So I worked in business briefly and got fired and was real quickly. It just no sexy reason, just sucked at the job. And I was like, and I'm not kidding when I say
this is nice to hear.
It was an advertising job, and I was like, oh, I thought I wanted this. I wanted Matthew McConaughey in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, who was an ad exec. I was like, I want the Just Frost Yourself guy. It doesn't exist, okay? And, you know, Dak Shepard talks about this, where he goes, I don't even want to act. He said, the thing I loved about acting was the camaraderie with the other actors that I now get to do in my living room. And you know what I mean? So it's like, when you don't have to live by the world of, you know, like, regardless of what people think of, like Shane Gillis, he funded his own TV show because he could. And so I always tell people, pursue whatever creative things you can, own all of it, don't give it up, like own the rights to everything. And when the windfall comes, you can use that equity, which equity's power, which is money and its opportunity, to do whatever the hell you want. Whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And that's, I hear your exhausted exhale as, I want that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah. I mean, I just, anyone who is good at a job where you have to follow I don't understand how to live in the world.
I knew I would like you. That's going to be like the 2-second intro. The smash cut. I don't understand. I was a terrible child. I don't understand.
Well, I don't know if you relate, but like, you know, you had your advertising job. I also worked in advertising briefly, and I was terrible at it. I've been bad at every job I've ever done. And I'm just, because I'm really slow at everything, and we live in America, and
but are you slow
have to be fast at everything to make money for a company.
Are you slow at it? Were you bad because you didn't have ownership, or because you didn't have passion? Like, there's probably a reason why you were bad at it.
Yeah.
It's like, why work for it? We're driving by Harley Davidson. If you could do sales for Harley Davidson, if you love Harley Davidson motorcycles, you could talk about how the exhaust sounds, and you could sell the shit out of it. But you can be the best salesperson in the world, and if you don't like motor, you know, what are you gonna do? Well, it might kill you, but get the insurance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm like, do we really need
my uncle lost a leg. Like,
yeah.
So it's passion. And that, I guess the question is, and it doesn't have to be a tangible thing, what's your passion? You know, and I know it's a hard one to answer. It doesn't have to be a tangible thing like motorcycles. And it could just be all of the different avenues to relate to people.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
It is just that. And I mean, I'm passionate about woodworking. I'm passionate about, connecting with people. And I of course enjoy stand-up because it is like another way of just like sending up a little flag of like, these are things that I enjoy. Are we friends? Can we be friends? Come and talk to me.
I think that's such a great, and that's why stand-up can be a good like dating tool, because it's like, here's 10 minutes on why I'm a piece of shit. If you want to flirt with me after the show, that's on your own peril. But that's I think you get only so like a gallon of creative juice a day. And I think only a fraction of that can go to stand-up. I truly think a lot of people make it their identity, but then it's like, come on, bro, you're just like spending 7 hours after a show drinking and doing drugs. Is this like really the stand-up grind? You know, like you can be work in carpentry or woodwork. You can do all these different things, and it doesn't mean like one identity is bigger than the other. It's just like, you go, like you bring to the stage your life. And if you don't have a life, what are you bringing to the stage? And maybe that's what we were talking about, new comedians. They might not have something to bring to the stage. Yeah.
Well, and also I don't know. I've gotten really in my head about, because people do have this, like, you have to be, you know, there are different mentalities about like going out every single night, and I've taken time away from stand-up for a while for my own mental health, and like it was important, but it also set me back, obviously, because you want to bet on people who are like, you see them out doing stuff, but there definitely was a time when getting back in for like at least 6 months when people were like, oh, I didn't know you were back, and I was like,
yeah,
back for a while.
That's like the networking tool. I felt that way taking a month off when the baby came. Yeah. But I also thought, regardless of how other people feel about like you and like the networking aspect of stand-up, I feel like stand-up is the quickest tool to lose creatively, as far as like you atrophy quickly. Yeah. But I kind of felt like I got it back. I mean, I got it back like 2 shows in after the pandemic. Yeah, sure, I don't remember my bits and whatever. I'm like, oh, we got it, like we're doing it. And I was like, am I even going to be able to, learn how to ride this bike again? And then you realize, oh, you're just being you if you're doing it right. Yeah. And presenting your thoughts to the world and having that break while we feel guilty because of like hustle culture, that break. I remember, Patrice O'Neill was like one of the best up and coming comedians when he passed. I mean, he was already like a pro, but he was like not even hitting his peak, right? And they used to talk about him that he would just disappear for a month at a time. And they were like, what happened to Patrice? Oh, he's going to figure things out, Yeah. And with the internet, we just hear everyone going, did 98 sets this week. And when I moved to Nashville, I was like, I'm not going to have that opportunity, nor did I take advantage of that in LA as far as like hustling that much. There is such a law of diminishing returns when you get past a certain part of comfortability. Now everyone's different. Some people like they can't not have a day of stand-up, but I've learned with the family to just be like, all right, I have to negotiate this love without burning bridges with another love. Yeah. And there is you have to do that dance. Like do you and your partner have conversations about dedicated date nights and like what's the love language and how does that all connect to communication style?
We've had the same conversation so many times about stand-up because like I'm so emotional when I come back from shows, whether it's like I'm on top of the world or it was like didn't go how I wanted, and he wants to hang out with me, which is really nice. But like if I'm taking time away to do stand-up, then he wants it to be for a good night. And there are some mics that I always would come back from just like and and some shows that would be like at a restaurant where you're ruining someone's night. Yeah. And he's like, you need to be selective about what you're taking time to do and think about like how that's going to affect you, because
which is tough because sometimes you don't know how a show is going to go.
Of course.
Sometimes you're like, I'm going to go do this Helgi, and you come back, woo, it was great.
Totally. Yeah. But you learn mostly like you have a sense at a point, but and I've tried to be like, well, I don't have the luxury. I'm not at the point in my career where I can be like, I'm only doing shows at clubs.
Well, of course, which is obviously going to be an audience more centered towards what your vibe is versus like surprise comedy, which we all know about. Yeah. But it comes back to like maybe mitigating your losses and not bringing them home to people, because it's like, trust me, I used to have a bit about how like I would have to scrub my comedy energy on the way home, like I was like exposed to a nuclear, you know what I mean, like hose me down, because my introvert wife doesn't want like if I kick the door and be like, the ice house robbed me of this, blah, blah, she's gonna go, whoa, we're calm down. And it's like, all right, I don't need 2 people to bomb tonight, right? So but that is hard to do. It's like not bring your work home, which I think is a very common thought that people have with their jobs, is like, how do I not be this white-knuckled, angry man who's just, I'm going to tell my wife how bad today was, because that energy, you're an energy vampire if you do that. You're just going to suck the life out of people. But it happens.
Yeah. And you're already away like a lot of nights, and then if you come back and you're just like reeling, then the quality of the time you have together is destroyed. So
I had a brutal moment this week where I had a friend call me out in front of like a million people, like she called me out part of this court thing. I hate to bring it back up again.
Gosh.
But it's just like, it triggered the hell out of her, and she says I'm bitter and all these other things, and I think she unfollowed and blocked me. This is someone that came to my wedding and stuff like that, and it was the worst thing that's ever happened as far as, that accompanied with my dog dying. I'm like, God. But Tuesday was the highlight of the day. That's when the judge ruled that I was telling the truth because evidence and everything. So I was like, all right, no longer, all the lawyers are calling me, you're no longer going to be threatened with this, you're bulletproof. So I went from this high to then all of a sudden the fallout from that was like epic. And I kind of was relating it to like Will Smith. And I didn't slap anybody, but like Will Smith had the high. He just won the Oscar, and then I think Denzel Washington said something about like the devil comes in your best time, whatever it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had this instance this week where I was vindicated and all these amazing things happened, and then I had really bad things happen. And the dog passing was way worse than the friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was like, whatever. But in those moments, that's when I had to tell my wife Tasha, be like, look, this is where I need help. If I came to her every day that some negative thing was said to me online, she'd be exhausted. Yeah, I would be like crying wolf. So like your partner will be there for like your dark times. For sure. You just need to be like, all right, the bar show where I got heckled by some whatever, that wasn't the time. Like, let's work that out with my peers, like get in a text thread. So it's about like knowing when to bring HR to your partner.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, it's, they can't, those poor partners of comedy people.
Right? I mean, but you have to deal, what if what if a puppet busts a button or something? You've got to deal with some real tragedy yourself.
He works everything out emotionally in just like physically build. He's built like 18 structures behind our house. He's just like constantly,
Which, by the way, you have I don't want to get into details, but I loved the architecture of where you live.
Oh, thank you.
There's like a garage with it's really cool. You've been there for a while?
Since like 2020.
Oh my gosh. I love the unique architecture out here. I am dying. I did a stand-up show at a gas station recently. I'll give you the guy's info. It paid well. It paid like $150.
Well, there's a lot of money in gas.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I got that petroleum money. No, they it was like a retired gas station, and they turned it into a performance area. And
cool.
Traffic's going by. You got to wait for like a motorcycle. But I was like, hey, money pays. It was in front of 5 people, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, I want to buy an old gas station and turn it into like a creative podcasting studio. And just like make that my place. But almost more like not this auto center, but more like that type of like mechanics place, because I was told gas stations, they're so expensive to deal with the environmental issues. So like just like an old like two garage door opening blue collar thing, because I love the blue collar aspect of content creation, of comedy. I love all of that. And just like kind of taking that energy and bringing it to people telling their stories, because I didn't know, I mean, you probably thought I was a douche, but I was like, I think I met, you reminded me of a lot of different people that I was very, have very warm connections with. And I was like, oh, I think this is a cool person. And hearing your story and others that, none of us have this crazy story, or like, we don't always know if we have a crazy story, but when you dive into it, it's like, all right, you're someone pursuing creativity with family that's not always on the same page as you. It's like, we've all got that. Like, that's probably the most common thing in our generation right now. Yeah. And are your partner and yourself pretty lined up with ideologies? Yeah,
I think he is actually, like, he grew up in a super atheist family, and I grew up in the South, so a lot of my very dear friends have faith, and we had to work for a long time to be like, consider that good people can exist who believe all kinds of different things. And that was a real...
do you think he had to come to that before you?
He had to... I had to be like, well...
We're scar tissue with people that might be Bible thumping, as it were?
Yeah. He had to kind of... I was just like, I don't care. I truly don't care what you believe. I just want there to be empathy and like openness to the idea that people can believe things that are different than you and still be good people.
And I think most religious beliefs, not the crazy ones, but most like political beliefs, are built for good reason, and they are for good community, and obviously they're taken advantage of by people. But atheists are generally just skeptics, more skeptical minded, and it's like, who cares if you believe that something may or may not exist? Like, let's all work as humans we all like. I don't know. It sounds so like, yeah, like let's all like take whatever scar tissue we got from whatever religion or lack of a religion we had and apply it to being better. I don't know.
Yeah.
You like how we just did that as we parked? That's like me getting the light. I'm like, I got 2 minutes to be virtuistic and all that. Well, thanks so much for joining me. You've got a stand-up show this Wednesday.
Yes.
Feed my audience with the details.
Okay. So the show is called Big Trouble. It's going to be kind of just unlike any stand-up show you've seen. There's going to be guys who are in full body, just like skin suits, who are in the audience kind of... Okay.
I love how complicated this sounds. It's like so much fun.
It's really complicated.
Stand-up's easy. Let's
really
bring
fun.
skin suits.
That's not even the place.
Are like Blue Man Group kind of guys?
If you've seen Blue Man Group, it's that.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay. Do I need a rain jacket in the audience?
You're going to be in the splash zone no matter where you are. No.
Metaphorically, you'll be in the splash zone.
Yeah. So basically, I think a lot of people in audiences nowadays like want to be a little more involved. So if that is you, it's basically like, we're going to have incredible comedians. We have Dusty Slay, Fiona Cawley.
She's a past
Eric
guest
Tillman.
on Driving with Dave.
Yeah, she's so great.
So great.
We have Kyler Finney. We have Renard Hirsch. Allison Summers is my co-host.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And where's the show at?
It's at the Lab at Zanies. I want to make sure I say everybody without missing anyone, or that would be terrible.
They'll get pissed.
Yeah, they'll get pissed. Rob wins.
Okay.
And so anyways, basically we are going to come out and there will be, a red light that comes on during the comedians' performances. And during that time, the audience is not allowed to laugh. And we have these guys in their suits patrolling. And if they catch anyone in that moment, it stops and you have to confess. You're being made to confess something that could be used as blackmail to the rest of the audience. These are pre-written confessions, but it's basically...
So the comedian's trying to break the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's pretty fun. And if they fail, then they have to read the confession. So, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it. Is this the first time doing the show?
Yes.
Oh, we can't wait to hear how it goes.
It's going to be pretty chaotic in a fun way.
Well, if any of our audience makes it there, definitely say hi. And where can people find your info on social media?
I am Tayslurp on Instagram. That's my main spot. I don't TikTok that much yet, but I feel like I should.
I know. Yeah. I feel guilty enough that I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show and for all of the time you gave us. I don't go this long, but I wandered farther away accidentally. We're like near a lake, and I'm like, I thought you could just turn around.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you, and if anyone's listening in the Nashville area, it's in Nashville. So if anyone's in the Nashville area, go check that out and go support her online and tell her you heard her here on Driving with Dave. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, yes, we've done it.
Don't think you're a douche.
Well, one at a time, folks. One at a time.